This is the Frome, a relaxed little river at this point along its journey as it flows out to join the River Severn in the west. We begin here, just about 1 kilometre out of town, just to the southeast of Stroud. This high viaduct holds up the railway line as it snakes and curves along the Frome River Valley. At the time we were walking, we hadn't realised the significance of the stark vertical wall here along the side of the canal at this point. Researching later, I now understand that this is a newer diverted section of the canal, which relinks a severed part of the old canal, which had become disused when a new main road was built along the alignment in the 1980s. Hi, I'm Warren Brand and welcome to another Linleys video. The canal through Stroud has a remarkable history. When my wife and I started wandering along, exploring this stretch of waterway, we had no idea what we would see and find. I've found out since there's been a lot of change and improvement to the canal in this area over the last few years. The canal now uses the viaduct arch here in view, but prior to the main road being constructed, which blocked the original alignment of the canal, the canal used a different arch. All very clever. This section of the waterway is called the Thames and Severn Canal, built in the late 1700s and of course predates the Brick Arch Railway Viaduct. Several sections along the route has mills and other industrial activity served and supported by the canal as it traversed through the countryside. We continue a little further away from Stroud initially, as far as the Bowbridge Lock. Until fairly recently, this lock and the 3 others just a little way further south were all abandoned, disused with the dried up canal route until very recently. My current OS map even shows the canal as disused along this section, but the building of the diversion section recently and the rebuilt locks here, more of the canal has been opened up for use. We don't have time to wander any further today, so head back towards Stroud. Retracing part of the route back, we find ourselves along the canal detour section again and then below the railway viaduct. Along this section, we're heading back to the centre of Stroud. The waterway here has been tidied up when it was reopened and is now fully usable for boat traffic as far as I can see. Passing some old industrial buildings on the northern bank of the canal, we approach Wallbridge Upper Lock. High above the grassy side of the canal is an obvious end abutment to an old, long-gone bridge. The OS map shows the route of an old railway line which curved through the centre of town just here, en route to join in with the line which still runs through, with another station near the canal. Ducking under the road bridge, next is the site of the old brewery buildings. All that remains is the low wall which forms the back of the curve in the canal. From here, the canal is named as the Stroudwater Navigation and dates back to the same era but slightly earlier section of the canal, which was dug to convey coal mostly from the west, linking from the River Severn, 8 miles away. Wallbridge Wharf is long gone now, which was the old terminus of this older canal. The Painswick stream joins here, and then is the area known as Lodgemore Mill. Most old mills and cloth factories are long gone, but this one has developed a niche market. It makes most of the fabric used for billiard tables and the material for making Wimbledon tennis balls. How about that? The lift bridge for Lodgemore Lane is quite new, installed when the canal along this section was reopened recently. We now head out of town a little to the west, and there is more green and open spaces to enjoy, at least along this bit. This bridge for Chestnut Lane is a rotating swing bridge design and the centre point of our trek today. Our holiday flat is just a short walk from here. Under the relatively new concrete bridge for the A419, we then look out for the old industrial area known as Dud Bridge. This relic of a winch crane dates back to the canal days and stands here almost forgotten. Spot the modern high lift crane on a lorry parked in the car park. As with many town areas, modern housing developments are taking up all the spare ground. Here, the houses are shaped to replicate old-style buildings which may have been seen along the canal. Ebley Mill was once a large and very important textiles mill for the area. The info board also explains how flooding in the valley is averted in the event of excessive rain. Amazingly, when the canal fell into disuse around the 1950s, this section was filled in and used for parking, but during the restoration work starting from around 2010 onwards to about 2020, this area has been reverted back to being a through waterway and new properties built alongside. The whole area looks clean and tidy, a great improvement all round. We had a little more time to wander further west, but we had to turn back before we got to the Ryford double lock, which would have been nice to look at. The canal doesn't currently go much further anyway, but there are plans to restore the whole section further and then link up with the Gloucester and Sharpness Canal at the Saul Junction, very near to the River Severn. However, there is more in this video, so stick with us as we continue our canal exploration with an afternoon trip to visit the Gloucester and Sharpness Canal as it links with the River Severn at Gloucester just north of the Saul Junction. At Gloucester, the canal basin has become a very tidy residential and retail location with many shops and restaurants, as well as flats and apartments, converted and built amongst the old brick warehouse buildings. An old steam crane stands here, isolated and looking rather stark against the red brick buildings. Back in the day, there would have been a number of these to help with the loading and unloading of cargo around and about. The point here is where the Gloucester and Sharpness Canal joins the River Severn, above the difficult bends and tidal sections of the river. The canal had a troubled start, built to a very deep and broad size to accommodate larger craft. It was not finally opened until 1827, some 35 years after the canal across to Stroud. If you've enjoyed this wander and explore, then you may be interested in some more of my other canal towpath excursions. There's a link to a playlist at the end, as well as a recommended video to watch. These wagons are modern versions of similar ones which used to run on simple rails along a tramway laid in 1911 from here at the docks on the Severn all the way inland to Cheltenham. Later, the Midland Railway and the Great Western Railway built main lines to haul goods further afield from the docks here at Gloucester. If you have any ideas, information or something to ask, please comment below. I'd like to hear from you. We stopped for a quick meal and a drink at the Lord High Constable of England before heading back to Stroud for the evening. Thanks for watching and bye for now.